Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the reading of the fic Spare Change. This is the third fic in that one Shinzuku Babysitter AU, and this fic itself is 3 chapters with just over 14,000 words. Here's the summary. It's been a year since Hitoshi's life got turned upside down by Midoriya Izuku, and just when life was starting to get easy again, a couple big changes stir up even more trouble. Chapter 1. It was strange how much could change over the course of a year. That's what was so great about it, he supposed. Change. Change could lead to greater things, or that's what Aizawa would say at least. Hitoshi never believed him whenever he said stuff like that. Parents said stupid crap all the time. Who's to say Aizawa wasn't bullshitting him too? Something to calm his racing heart during a panic attack, or literally any time something was just slightly off, and Hitoshi drove himself up the wall with how crazy he made himself over it. Change was bad, and scary, and new. It was easy to say he disliked change, and yet, every change in his life had led to something great, something better, something amazing. Being adopted was one instance, he supposed. Aizawa had probably saved him from a life of constant foster homes and abuse. At 5, he didn't truly understand the severity of his situation, and had probably been a massive pain in Aizawa's ass until he eventually gave in and accepted that he was honestly just trying to help him. He supposed his hatred for change had initially stemmed from his inconsistent childhood, but that was a thought for another day. Eri was another new but great thing. It was 5 years of normalcy, hot food, a room he could call his own, a parent who honestly, truly cared for him and his well-being. And then a month before his 10th birthday, Aizawa came home from work with a literal bundle of joy. Eri, despite what she'd almost been subjected to, had always been such a happy little girl, and suddenly, Hitoshi had a baby sister, and he was a big brother. He hadn't been the happiest at first. He was nearly 10, and an asshole. But eventually he warmed up to the idea of Eri, and now he couldn't imagine a life without her in it. And for the next 7 years or so, Hitoshi's life had been one single straight line. A life of routine and familiarity, school, training, Eri, Aizawa, rinse and repeat. He liked it. He enjoyed knowing what came next. He liked planning and following it to a T. Maybe that wasn't so normal for a 13-year-old to do, but he was doing better now, 4 years later. Because 7 years later, a month and a week into his 17th year of life, Hitoshi met Midoriya, and Midoriya was, well, it was like someone had thrown a wrench into the works. Pressed all the buttons in the elevator, keyboard smashed his brain into oblivion, just to put it into perspective. Midoriya was new in an entirely different way from Aizawa and Eri. With Aizawa and Eri, Hitoshi had time to process and configure how he felt and what he felt, and if these feelings were good or bad. But with Midoriya, it was all so fast and sudden. The crush he developed, the pining, the courting, and then, finally dating him. In a singular year, Midoriya had gone from perfect stranger to Hitoshi's boyfriend. It was sort of why he was having this mini existential crisis. So much could happen in a year. Great, great things. Midoriya was a really great thing. But they were in their 2nd year now. If first year had been such a whirlwind of drama and nonsense, what would 2nd year be? Hitoshi-kun. He glanced up from his textbook, Midoriya sitting across from him, with his own textbook strewn along the dinner table. It was Friday afternoon. Eri was in the living room watching cartoons, and he and Midoriya were doing homework together. Their first week as 2nd years had gone rather smoothly. Midoriya liked his classes. Hitoshi was a struggling hero course student. It was good, and perfect, and just like first year, which was even better. But now, Midoriya was looking at him in a way he's never seen before, and Hitoshi knew that whatever happened next would be new and different, and it scared him, but he felt he was prepared for it now. Yeah? What's up? He tried feigning nonchalance, but it sounded as forced as it felt coming out. Midoriya put down his pencil and began fidgeting with his fingers, rubbing his chapstick lips together before speaking again. Can I ask you something? And I really need you to be honest with me, even if you think it'll hurt my feelings. Hitoshi actually frowned at this, hurt Midoriya's feelings. He'd honestly rather die, but he'd humor him just this once. Okay. You know, you're kind of starting to freak me out, he said finally. The tension he felt was probably one-sided, but he was starting to overthink. And when Hitoshi started overthinking, it was never good for anyone involved. Are you going to break up with me? Midoriya literally did a full-body flinch. What? Their hands found each other from across the table instantly. Never, never ever, why would you say that? Hitoshi felt silly, but the reassurance was good. I don't know. I'm an idiot. You're not, Midoriya insisted, squeezing his fingers, his lips suddenly forming a slight pout. Ask me your question, Hitoshi said, quickly changing the subject before Midoriya could go on a self-love rant. He appreciated how affectionate his boyfriend was. It's just that Hitoshi never knew what to say at the end of his spiels. Thank you for making me not hate myself. Oh, right, Midoriya mumbled, his eyes suddenly shifting to the wall beside them. So, do you remember last week when your dad drove me home? He did, and only because he wished so badly that he could drive, just to reduce the risk of his dad accidentally embarrassing the living hell out of him. Yeah, he said instead. Okay, well, Midoriya continued, still not looking at him. Before he dropped me off, he asked if I'd like to transfer to UA, into the General Studies department. Hitoshi felt a rush of everything: excitement, anticipation, nerves, worry, but mostly excitement. He never said anything before, knowing how Midoriya could get, but he'd always wished they'd gone to the same school. He hated having to wait hours to see him. And even when they were together, Hitoshi had to share his time with Eri. Midoriya attending UA would literally change everything, and not even his aversion to change could make him uneasy about this, because he couldn't imagine this being a bad thing. How could it be? Because there's an opening, and well, all he asked was if I'd like the spot, and I said I'd think about it and ask my mother as well. Midoriya continued, speaking so fast Hitoshi could barely understand him. But I wanted your opinion too, because you're a student there, and you're my boyfriend. I didn't want to do anything that could make you uncomfortable. Hitoshi blinked, then frowned. Midoriya, how would that make me uncomfortable? You're my boyfriend. I like you a lot. Seeing you at school would make my life, 1,000 times better. Midoriya's cheeks stain a light red. Would it? Or would I just distract you? I don't want to be the reason you fall behind. Going to different schools kind of prevented that, you know? Hitoshi honestly couldn't even deny that Midoriya was a distraction, because he definitely could be. Even before they were dating, he remembered how badly Midoriya plagued his mind, how not a single thing wouldn't fail to remind Hitoshi of him, and how sometimes he would, slightly, doze off during a slow portion of class in favor of thinking about him. Only sometimes. Now imagine if they attended the same school, if Hitoshi knew where to find Midoriya, which class he was in. He could imagine it now, how antsy he'd be to get to lunch, or hero training in the hopes of being able to see him. Midoriya would plague him again, and he wouldn't even try to stop it. Well, sure, but we won't be taking the same classes. I probably wouldn't see you until lunch anyway. After imagining what life would be like with Midoriya attending UA, he kind of really needed it to happen, so for now, he wouldn't bring up the plaguing. Midoriya still seemed unconvinced, however. I don't know. It just sounds crazy, doesn't it? Randomly transferring schools in our second year? And not just to any school, but to UA? I mean, it's crazy. Hitoshi was determined to get him to accept the offer, if not for his own selfish reasons, then for the dream Midoriya's had for years. But it's UA, he said. Your dream school. It was my dream school, Midoriya insisted, suddenly looking a little squeamish. I wanted... you know what I wanted. It's not the same. I wanted to be in the hero course. Hitoshi sighed helplessly. How could he make that right? The dreams of a 4-year-old boy crushed, and then beaten out of him as he grew, bullied for being different, for being quirkless. Hitoshi was only now understanding his contempt. Idiotically enough. For him, an offer to UA would have been an instant yes, but it was totally different for Midoriya, whether it was fair or not. I know it's not the same, but it was still your dream. You shouldn't have to give that up just because you're quirkless, he said, speaking with all the caution in the world. He would never know what it was like to navigate the world without a quirk, and the last thing he wanted to do was offend Midoriya by assuming anything. Well, that's the reality of being quirkless, Hitoshi-kun. You don't get to choose whether your dreams come true or not. Most of the time, it just won't happen. Nobody wants it to happen for you. Midoriya was shrinking, literally and metaphorically, it seemed. Hitoshi saw his eyes, how distant they became whenever he spoke about being quirkless and everything he'd had to endure because of his diagnosis. He became so unlike himself, and Hitoshi hated it. I want this for you. I want this so badly for you, he said, gripping onto him with both hands now squeezing, pleading. Where are your bullies now? What schools do they go to? Not UA. That's how you win, Midoriya. You're better. You are so much better than they will ever be. You have to see that. Midoriya was quiet for a moment, staring down at their hands, a war raging behind his eyes. He didn't want to imagine how much he'd been thinking about this since last week, how overwrought he must have made himself. Aizawa should have said something. Midoriya should have told him sooner. What if... Midoriya sighed sharply, his mouth twisting as if the words were fighting their way out. What if the people there... What if they're mean? What if they hate me for being quirkless? I can't do that again. Hitoshi physically felt his heart sink. He knew Midoriya had been severely bullied for being quirkless, but Midoriya had never gone into great detail about it. All Hitoshi really knew was that the bullying had been bad enough to the point that Midoriya had a difficult time trusting people, even now. Even him at one point. Nobody at UA is like that. I can promise you that. And if somebody started bothering you, I would handle it, Hitoshi said, not at all joking. Midoriya cracked a weak smile anyway. Not everyone at UA is so accepting of quirkless people, Hitoshi-kun. He frowned, a little startled by this. Do you know someone at UA who doesn't like quirkless people? Midoriya's eyes widened slightly, taken aback, it seemed. Hitoshi watched him, concerned. I mean, statistically speaking, it's impossible for everyone at UA to be accepting of quirkless people. He swiftly corrected himself, then shook his head. It doesn't matter. I'm sure you're right, and I'm just being dramatic. It's dumb. It's not, and you're not being dramatic. Hitoshi frowned, bothered by all the negative self-talk. Now, maybe he knew how Midoriya felt whenever he did it. I could never know what you went through, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. You don't just wake up one morning and forget. I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. You will always have me. Midoriya swallowed slowly, his face coiled almost painfully. If I were to say yes, you'll be there with me, right? I mean, you don't have to hold my hand through everything, but I'm scared, Hitoshi-kun. I can't do this if you're not with me. Midoriya, he said, letting go of his hand in favor of gripping the underside of his chin, forcing his eyes onto him. I am with you 100%, 1,000% even. I know you can do this. Midoriya offered a weak smile in return, leaning into his touch. Thank you, he whispered, earnest. Hitoshi's heart swelled, his tongue doubling in size at the sight of him. So, does this mean you'll take the offer? He pressed his lips together and nodded jerkily. Yeah, I think I will. I think I can do it. Midoriya. He grinned his name, leaning over the table and kissing him stupid. You're great. You're so great. No kissing in the kitchen. Eri stomped in, dressed in a chef's hat and a checkered apron. I run a grade A kitchen. Midoriya spluttered, face red, pulling away immediately. Sorry. Hitoshi blinked at her. How do you even know what a grade A kitchen is? I'm 8. I know a lot of things. She made an I'm watching you gesture with her fingers and left promptly after. Hitoshi rolled his eyes at her. She had a knack for ruining important moments. It's like she had a sense for it. We should get back to work, Midoriya said after a moment, picking his pencil back up. Sorry for getting us so off track. What? Why? Hitoshi frowned, snatching his pencil from his hands. You're a UA student now. You don't have to do classwork for a different school. Midoriya persisted, then froze. But... Oh, I guess you're right. Let's watch a movie, Hitoshi suddenly said, standing from the table and walking towards the living room. It's Friday, and we're celebrating. You still have homework to do, Hitoshi-kun. Don't ignore me. Hitoshi walked towards him, an idea suddenly planting its way into his head. Okay, fine. Hug first. I'm really proud of you, Midoriya. He outstretched his arms, peering down at him patiently. Midoriya chewed at his lip, his cheeks staining red again, before he stood from his seat and right into Hitoshi's arms, squeezing tight. Thank you, Hitoshi-kun. Then, before he could realize what he was doing, Hitoshi grabbed him by his waist and hauled him over his shoulder, as if he weighed nothing. Hero training had convenient perks. Midoriya shrieked, draping over his back like a rag doll. Got you. Hitoshi grinned impishly, strutting towards the living room in triumph. Eri, find the remote. We're watching a movie. Yay! Put me down, Hitoshi-kun. Midoriya wiggled in his grasp. You have work to do. Okay, fine. Hitoshi dropped him onto the couch with zero intention of going back to his homework. I have all weekend to finish my work. Can't I just be with you right now? Midoriya sat sprawled on the couch, hair tousled, face bright red and beautiful. Fine. His voice breathy. Hitoshi smiled and leaned down to kiss him again, slow and sweet. Midoriya hummed, wrapping an arm around his neck, dragging him down next to him. I said no kissing! Eri screamed from somewhere behind them. Their kiss ended abruptly and sourly, but what were little sisters for if not that? Ruining moments with one's irresistibly cute boyfriend. Sorry, Eri-chan. You said no kissing in the kitchen, Hitoshi pointed out petulantly. Okay, well, now the entire house is banned from kissing. What? You can't do that. Just did. She stuck her tongue out at him and walked around the couch, control in hand. Make space for me. Oh, sorry. Midoriya always accommodated her. Eri squeezed her way in between them, smiling up at him smugly while she exaggeratedly leaned into Midoriya's side. Hitoshi had to remind himself that she was only 8 and his little sister, and that he loved her. Not at the moment, but he did most of the time. After 15 minutes of movie searching proved them fruitless, Eri suggested a Gravity Falls marathon, to which he and Midoriya both quickly agreed upon. The show wasn't that bad past the first season. I'm Mabel, Nissan is Dipper, and Nichan is Seuss, Eri said, pointing the characters out to them on screen in the midst of an episode. Hitoshi had enough Gravity Falls knowledge to know who was who, and Midoriya was absolutely not Seuss. Midoriya's definitely Wendy, because Dipper has a crush on her, remember? Eri side-eyed him. Gross. Midoriya snorted, petting her hair affectionately. Hitoshi felt a little betrayed. I think I want to be Waddles. Him and Mabel are best friends, just like us, Eri-chan. Ooh, that's a good choice, Nii-chan. Mine was better, he insisted, oddly passionate about this sort of thing. Midoriya's Wendy because Dipper has a crush on her. That's, like, perfect. Nii-chan isn't a girl. Well, he isn't a pig either. Guys, Midoriya giggled, placing his hands on Hitoshi's shoulder and Eri's placatingly. They're just characters. I can be both. Eri hummed shortly, cuddling further into Midoriya's side. Hitoshi squinted down at her, kind of, a tiny bit jealous. He was pathetic. And why do you get to be cute with Midoriya and not me? I'm the one who's dating him. You're not even letting us kiss in the house anymore. Well, I saw him first. What? Not even. Yes, even. Nii-chan was my friend first. Well, he's my boyfriend. Boyfriends are less important than best friends. Tell him, Nii-chan. Midoriya looked like a cornered animal, shrinking back into the couch cushions as the two of them turned their glares on him, waiting for an answer. Yeah, Midoriya, tell me, what's more important? Oh, don't put me in the middle of this. We were watching Gravity Falls. How did this happen? He cried, tangling his hands into his hair. I don't want to choose. I won't. I want to watch Gravity Falls in peace and cuddle with my best friend and boyfriend. I can sit in the middle, okay? Hitoshi felt a little ridiculous arguing with his little sister for his boyfriend's attention, but she really did put up a fight. And a good one. Midoriya always had to step in as the mediator for them. In the end, Aizawa walked in and all three of them asleep on the couch. Eri and Hitoshi cuddled into either side of Midoriya. Gravity Falls playing softly in the background. Perfectly imperfect. Later, after Midoriya had gone home, and after they let Aizawa know that Midoriya would take the offer, Hitoshi couldn't help but imagine what life would be like, with Midoriya attending UA. They could take the train together to and from school, meet in between classes, eat lunch together. Midoriya could finally meet all of his friends. It was definitely going to be different, and very new, and maybe even a little difficult, but together, they'd make it all work. Somehow. Honestly, what could go wrong? All right, listeners, this concludes the first chapter of Spare Change. Chapter 2 will be up next. I hope you all are enjoying this one so far. And as always, thank you so much for listening.